going on, Mr. Markham? How you doing today, man?
Doing well. Thank you, Jorge. It's been a very whirlwindy past couple. I gotta tell you here, and I know you know me with the crossover between baseball and football, but it is.
Yeah.
Is there a better time potentially in sports? And there might be one, but right now, I mean, March Madness, baseball season's kicking off. NFL never has an off season, but free agency kicked off, and so now it's even more chaotic. I'm missing something, I'm sure.
No, I gotta be honest with you. And as much as we talk about football and we like, professional football and college football, for me, I will always have my default setting in like playoff basketball mode. So we're basically doing that, for 64 teams. And it is ridiculous. Did you watch the Kentucky upset yesterday?
I did.
That was ridiculous. That was nuts. But to go back to what you were saying, dude, this is a great time of year. Aside from the fall when you have all the major sports playing in that 1 or 2 week period, this is fantastic. But we have the news, we have the drama for NFL and baseball, and then baseball supposedly is going to be starting up sooner rather than later. Are the canceled games not canceled anymore, or are
they have a full 162 game season? They're going to do 9 inning double headers to make those games up. Opening day is April 7th. Okay. And so we've got, it's 3 weeks away. It's starting up. It's fun. It's ready. It's ready. I'm ready. It's fun. I can't talk. My mind is everywhere. Every 2 seconds, you should feel like in my pocket. If I keep my phone in my pocket, it is on a continuous. I should take off some of those alerts and push notifications. I'm sure, but constant, just used to be who did what. Oh, great! Look, Tutu Atwell signs with this or some. I shouldn't say garbage player and throw Tutu Atwell into the mix, but we get the idea of what I'm saying. And instead, it's. Deshaun Watson changes his mind and decides, I'll go play here. And
right.
We obviously not segue into which direction you were going to go, but I'll let you do that. But it's been, big news.
And first of all, to all you out there who are watching and listening, welcome to Fourth and Frames, flagship podcast here at fantasyandframes.com. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards. And with me is Nate Markham. And today we're going to be covering the Dynasty Risers and Fallers at defensive back. But it's a special show because we're doing this on a Friday at 10 p.m., which means, after 10 p.m., anything can happen, and we're going to go as long as we want because we can.
Yep,
and
exactly.
So we'll cover some IDP defensive backs. Obviously, we're talking about it from a Dynasty perspective. And then we're going to get into everything else. And then if you all have any questions or you want to hop on the stream with us, let me know, and I'll email you the information, and we could all just have a good time talking shop here this Friday evening.
Ooh.
Nate, I don't know who you have like on your alerts on Twitter, but for me, people have Schefter, people have, Pelissaro, that people have Rappaport. I've been using at my sports update, R.A. Mirov.
Yeah.
This guy is legit, like one of the fastest breaking news people in all of fantasy football Twitter. So he's definitely somebody I wanted to give a shout out to because I've been loving everything he's been doing. He covers NFL for Pro Football Focus. Just a lot of good stuff going on for him. So congratulations and thank you, Ari, for having such a great start to NFL free agency. Speaking of NFL free agency, there are a lot of moves. We can talk about a defense during the defensive portion of the show, but I think Devonta Adams going to the Raiders. And what kills me is the whole fact that apparently Green Bay was going to pay him more money. And he's like, no, I'm good. I want to go to Las Vegas. And I'm like, really? You want to leave? But I can see where it's going. I can kind of see his rationale. Maybe he got tired of the drama in Green Bay. Maybe he didn't want to be stuck on a team that was going to underperform because they're in cap hell if they did keep him and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Maybe he really does want to play with Derek Carr. I refuse to believe. Yeah, thank you. I refuse to believe that is actually like a thing. Like I get he's his buddy from college, but you're turning down a 2-time back-to-back, MVP for Derek Carr. Like I don't get.
I think you hit it on the head. I think it's the lack of drama and being just intertwined into it constantly. And the cap hell obviously will play into it. But I do think that there's something about just, going out and doing your job without the hassle and just angst of every day, not knowing what's going to be said, what type of shit do I have to deal with. I'm not saying he won't get that in Vegas potentially. I mean, but I don't believe that that's going to be the case. And where does he go? AFC West. If you could only purchase, if you got a deal on the NFL Red Zone to only buy a division, right, I would spend as much for the AFC West as I would for everything else almost combined. Not just because my Chiefs play in it, but because it is, loaded. It's basically the All-Star. No, shouldn't say All-Star. Pro Bowl-esque.
Right.
Who's who in that division.
I will say this right now. If somebody in December shows me their final roster of them winning a fantasy football championship with only players from the AFC West, which I think is very possible of doing, I will donate $100 to your charity. Because Russell Wilson, all those people, Javonte Williams, no Melvin Gordon anymore, Sutton, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson. I mean, the thing is, it was a big offensive snowball, in recent weeks. But then the defenses started getting there. Khalil Mack is now all of a sudden in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chandler Jones, who he just has never gotten the respect he's been deserving of. He's always been, whenever he's played a full season, in the top 10 in terms of sacks. Just a monster of a player, great player, goes to Las Vegas, and that's kind of flown under the radar again.
Yeah, it has.
And it's dude, this guy is going to wreck it. You have Max Crosby on the other side now. You have Max Crosby and Chandler Jones coming at you. That's ridiculous. And then just when you thought the Raiders were the team that were lacking the most firepower, boom. I think yeah, exactly. And I think I saw on Twitter, somebody said, name me a better wide receiver tight end tandem than Devontae Adams and Darren Waller.
I got one.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But I guess you can say experts don't count. Real quick, though, not to go from high note to low note. Sure. Breaking news right now. John Clayton, NFL reporter, insider, has passed away. So terrible news. I think, there's probably a lot more that people will say about it and bring on. I can remember plenty of days. And I'm drawing a blank. I was getting ready to look it up and everything else. Who was the old player that they used to have them together and they would battle their debates essentially? And he kept calling Clayton a little dweeb and everything for not ever playing.
Oh man, this is going to eat me alive. If somebody's watching on Twitter who knows this ESPN trivia, Sports Center trivia, chime in, please. Man, who is that guy?
I have the internet, so I can just do this.
I guess Google could help out. Yeah, no. Nothing will obviously beat his he takes off his garb after he does the live Sports Center, and he has. What was the band that he had? I forget. The band he had on his T-shirt, and he starts rocking out to them. It's Slayer.
Yeah.
Just Meatloaf. Yeah,
this is essentially what I think of. Yeah.
Man, he was just such a good staple of sports reporting. I mean,
I trusted everything he said. If he told you the sky was orange, no, let's go a different color because sky can't be orange. The sky was a purple and the clouds were magenta and the sun didn't exist, I would be like, man, that's John Clayton. I gotta go outside and check just in case.
I mean, the utmost professional guy you've ever seen consistently on a TV, giving you sports information. Nate, this is the guy that we grew up with. This is what Sports Center was revolving around back in the day. These are the heart and soul of
was
them.
It Sean Salisbury?
He was I think he was an anchor. I don't know if he was the quote unquote player who did that.
Well, that's
It sounds like something. I know it's not him, but it sounds like something like a Rex Ryan would say, or something along those lines. But
no, it's definitely like it doesn't matter. We'll continue.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I saw that today. That really bummed me out. It's yeah, it sucks. So rest in peace, John Clayton. Cheers to you, and I hope your condolences go out to your family and loved ones. I guess sticking on a similar feel, and normally would not get into this because I totally like to avoid drama whatsoever when we're doing our content here. But like I said, it's 10 p.m. We're going to do whatever we want to do.
Yeah, Drama Friday.
Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland.
Moly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's of all the landing spots, if you're Deshaun Watson, that had to be, I mean, it has to be the top of the list. I mean, would you rather, Atlanta or Cleveland? Cleveland, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Atlanta, I get it.
Take it back. There's one. I would have picked Carolina over Cleveland myself. But that's just me because I think that I would, that just seems like I don't want to say Cleveland worries me after what we've seen. Put it this way. In the last 2 years, we've seen them make this, momentous turnaround. They went from this, 1-35. I know that's not the right number, but you get the idea of what I'm saying, to this perennial, I'd say Super Bowl contending team, to go into so much drama that Baker Mayfield wants out, and they just are the kind of, their own fans are turning a little bit, and there's a little bit of a shit show. I'm not saying that's not the same in Carolina, potentially, but maybe it's my own personal bias. Maybe I just enjoy Carolina. I like the pieces they have. I think their defense is great. Obviously, DJ Moore got extended today.
Yeah,
you have CMC, but what would it take to get Deshaun Watson there? And they don't. What was it? 3 firsts, third,
3 firsts, 3 firsts, a third, and a fifth for Watson, and a fourth, I think. And I got to be honest with you, people are like, "Oh my god, that's such a haul." And I'm like, honestly, for the way the Texans were talking about this last year, I'm surprised they didn't hold out for like 4 first-round picks or more than that. I was expecting a lot more than what I saw when I heard what they gave up. I'm like, "Oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Really? We were holding with bated breath this entire time just to see that? I don't know. That's just my take there. But he's a Brown, and you see on Twitter the mass exodus of Browns fans who don't want to be associated with the Browns because of the Deshaun Watson signing and everything that he's accused of doing. It is very rare, Nate, especially nowadays, where I go and say, "Whew, well, I'm glad I'm a Commanders fan."
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of those. Down. This is one of those scenarios.
March 18th. Jorge is drunk. Said some shit.
Jorge is drunk, and he thought that Carson Wentz's outfit to the press conference was very, very stylish. If you saw that,
everybody saw it.
You didn't have to look at your computer screen; just look outside. No. It was emanating all the way from.
That's what John Clayton was looking at when he said the sky was maroon. And real quick question: what do you think? What will the Colts give up to get Baker Mayfield?
First of all, I hope he goes there. I really hope he does. What would they give up? They
have no the Browns have no leverage right now, right? I mean, they not for. I don't think the team is, if they were in desperation mode to try to get something in return. I think now they'll just hold tight. They don't have to they don't have to honor his wishes. And what's the chances? I saw this. What's the chance that maybe Deshaun Watson is suspended from the from NFL, and they have Baker Mayfield to play the first 4 or 5 games, whatever that may be. Now, granted, that's another hot take that I've seen somewhere else, so it's not just my thinking on this.
Right.
But would Baker even? I can't see a situation that he would. I don't know what would happen.
I see him sitting out or boycotting or whatever he wants, whatever you call it, just not playing again for Cleveland. A lot of drama going on there in Cleveland. I don't really know why that is, but on paper, taking the legal stuff out of it, taking all the emotion that comes with the legal stuff out of it, You know, you have Deshaun Watson at his very best. You have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb at their very best. You have David Njoku, who, you know, people are ranting and raving about him from a dynasty perspective, but I've yet to see him actually go off. He will have the opportunity now because no more Austin Hooper there taking away snaps for him.
Right.
But you got Amari Cooper. I totally forgot about Amari Cooper. You have Amari Cooper there now. So it's, you know, there's a lot of potential there. The defense, you know, a lot of youth on that defensive side of the ball, especially at linebacker with Koromoa, and then you got all the former Rams who basically went to the secondary of John Johnson III and so on and so forth.
Just having Troy Myles Hill. Garrett enough is,
yeah.
I mean,
it's pretty it's pretty crazy how good that team is stacked. But like you said, there's so many things we still don't know what's going to happen, you know, with the NFL levying, you know, suspensions and all that jazz. So
right.
Glad I'm a Commanders fan. And speaking of Commanders fans, we got JD McKissick back, and apparently that pissed off is it Brandon Bean, something Bean, who's the general manager of the Buffalo Bills. Apparently he's like, you know what, Washington, you know, we're generally, when you talk to a player and you say it's a done deal, the agent says, okay, we're done. And Washington still, you know, was going after JD McKissick, and now he's back with Washington. What are your thoughts on that with Antonio Gibson?
I mean, I hate it for any Antonio Gibson owners. I mean, obviously the opportunity, the seas kind of parted. Everybody thought this full workload for Antonio Gibson was just going to create I mean, he had to move up into the top first half of the first round with a lone backfield by himself, I would think. I mean, with the potential. And now all of a sudden, I'm not so worried as much, because I still think, you know, I take that back though. Maybe I am worried, because there's no reason they pushed that hard for McKissick if they didn't intend to give him a consistent workload that they had given him, or had wanted to give him, at least for the last couple of years. So, I mean, you know, I hate to say follow the money, because follow the money sometimes gets you in trouble, but you got to follow the commitment to him. Mm-hmm. And it's not like they have a ton of options behind him either. I mean, Jarrett Patterson, Reggie Bonifon. I mean, come on. It's not like they had anything. Right. I guess Jonathan Williams is still there, and they could address it in the draft, but the depth is there. What do we think as far as the overall offense for the Commanders with the addition of Carson Wentz? How much higher is Terry McLaurin going to go in your overall? Because, I mean, I know we've talked about this before, and you and I haven't, though.
Yeah, no. I don't really see it getting. Well, I should take that back. From a fantasy standpoint, I don't think it's going to change that much. From an advanced metric standpoint, I think it's going to change a lot, which has nothing to do with fantasy points. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Targets are probably going to stay the same, if not go up a little bit more. But teams are going to realize that they're going to be throwing it to Terry McLaurin all the time, and they're going to take that away eventually. That being said, his average off the target, it's going to go through the roof, because Carson Wentz is going to air that sucker out. But that doesn't translate into fantasy points. So from a real football perspective, I think it bumps him up a little bit more. But there's no balance on this team. You know, you look at who's the other guy, Cam Sims and Curtis Samuel, who can't even stay on the field for an entire season. Not super excited about that. You know, JD McKissick and Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson, I think, finished in the top 12 or top 13 in total fantasy points scored. But you look at his point per game average, it's not that great either. So it is a tough situation there. Carson Wentz. I mean, I hope he can revitalize what he did in 2018, when he almost led his team to a Super Bowl. But everything I've been hearing out of everywhere is like, oh, he's a horrible leader. He's, you know, when he tore his ACL in Philadelphia, apparently him and Darren Sproles got into it because Carson Wentz was saying in the treatment room, oh, it doesn't feel right that Nick Foles is leading my team to the Super Bowl. It should be me doing that, not him. And Darren Sproles basically had to be separated from Carson Wentz because they were about to go at it pretty hardcore. I hear this and I'm like, well, this is the person I want leading our team.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see, man. You know, I was watching the the social media page for Washington, and they showed when Carson Wentz showed up to the facility and he met Ron Rivera. And Rivera's like, "Hey man, how's it going? Super upbeat, super ready to take on this new endeavor." And Carson Wentz is like, hey, what's up? And Rivera's like, "Hey, how's the family? How's the wife doing?" He's like, yeah, pretty good. He's like, "Yeah, this past 48 hours has been kind of something." Carson Wentz is like, yeah, I guess that's part of the business. And I'm just like, there's nothing that he has done in this entire 5 minutes of meeting his head coach that screams to me, yes, I'm ready to say, screw what happened in the past. I'm ready to go take the league by storm again. I don't know if I can convey my disappointment enough to answer your question.
He is still the best quarterback that you guys have had in I don't know how long I want to go back. It's not probably fair for me to assume.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Carson Wentz? Because that's the last quarterback that we had that was decent.
Yeah, I'd rather have Kirk Cousins myself. Right. But I don't know, because Amari Cooper says that Dak is the black
Kirk Cousins. Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I'm so confused by that statement. Yeah. I'm like, what? He throws for a ton of yards and
touchdowns, and
I know what it is. It means he doesn't win championships,
right.
And he puts up a bunch of numbers. But I mean, that's kind of like, I'll take the insult if that's what it is that I produce. And
right,
there is another side to football, from what I understand. I believe it's called defense, that you and I might know a little bit about. So maybe it's not as quite a knock if you do that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
No, I'm with you. And when you think of Amari Cooper going to Cleveland and Deshaun Watson is this quarterback now, you think that's gonna be anything special to see? Or
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I do. I like Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper is a type of receiver that, realistically, in any scenario, can fit into a receiver's room and have immediate return, because he's not like dependent upon a good deep a good deep ball by the quarterback, or exclusive to play calling where he has to get open in space to be able to do things. He can create. Right. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of how he does. I think the change in the overall offensive scheme might be different, tempo wise. That might get a little, sometimes dull. It's a little dulling. I'm sure that the play action run heavy attack, even though it's not like Dallas wasn't a pretty decent or potent rushing attack anyway. It's not like they were completely pass heavy, but they were by comparison. I'd have to look it up and see the exact numbers, but my guess is that the run to pass ratio and just the total pass snaps, tempo will be slower. Like I said, tempo will be down. I think the overall potential volume, but he doesn't have to compete with CeeDee Lamb or Michael Gallup. Well, what was supposed to be Michael Gallup, I guess we'll say, considering Gallup didn't really play too much, unfortunately.
Well, fortunately, he got that extension, so I'm super happy for him.
That's
super. Being a Gallup truther, it's been tough the past couple of years, but it's finally happening, man. It's finally happening. So speaking of finally happening, I think we should probably get to talking about some defense here before we go completely. Yeah. Let's get into Dynasty Risers and Fallers at defensive back. I wrote in my article for the Dynasty Risers, Nate, defensive back is slowly becoming my favorite position in all of IDP. And you would think it'd be like the hard-hitting linebackers or the getting to the quarterback, pile driving them into the ground defensive linemen. But you look at these defensive backs, I mean, they're being asked to do so much, whether it's coverage, whether it's playing at closer to the line of scrimmage, getting the quarterback pressures, getting the line, it's just so much, so many options, so much variety.
Well, let's imagine the size of these defensive backs now is not all of them, but they range in variety. They have the speed of a lot of the corners. They have the physicality of a linebacker. They have a playmaking set and ability to be in the box more than they've ever been. And they're just asked to run downhill. And, with, like we've said, There's not the traditional 3-4-4-3. Most everything's nickel. Seeing hybrid dimes. We're seeing a lot more of the safety role in the box, and it's just they're involved in so much more of the game. They're becoming more household names, which is nice. I got to say, I think that it's very intriguing, and we even see some like quote unquote down years for some players like a Jeremy Chin, when at the end of the day, when you look at the end numbers, you go, oh, he actually did have a good year by all standards. But we're getting, I like the fact that there's some new guys coming in that are actually gaining like quickly. They're quickly getting in, and maybe I'll mention some of these when we talk about some of the risers more than the fallers, but the turnaround to go from rookie or second year guy to, I don't want to say stardom, but we can say that. I mean, IDP defensive back stardom, if you want to talk about that small niche area, but I'm right there with you. I think the, edge rushers get all the sack praise, linebackers get all the tackle glory, and the safeties get the opportunity to just be nasty and just kind of do a little bit of everything. I love it. When I play Madden, I'll tell you, create your own player. You get to create Jorge Edwards. Number one, what's your number if you create yourself? You think too long, that means you don't have a set number.
82.
You only make your guy offense?
Be a tight end.
Boo.
But I understand where you're going with that. I probably should have said a defensive back number.
Probably should have started there. No, you don't say defensive back number, because don't lie to me. I'm asking you a genuine question.
It would be 82.
That's fair. 82. That's cool. I mean, I'm always like 11 is my go-to number if I'm like a receiver or something. But on if I pick a player and I pick a position first, more so than the number, because the position predicates the number, I pick safety a lot. A ton. So much fun, because especially strong safety more so than free safety. I don't want to be back ball hawking the entire time.
Right.
That's stupid. I want to be up in the box and just, my guy's 6'6", 260, just crushing people downhill, all out blitz, constant. I'm not dropping back, but it's the best. Create yourself as a safety and just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. I think back to, who I would actually play in real life. And I'm the guy who, when he was younger, wanted to be the receiver, and they're like, no, you're too big. Go on the line. That's where you've been forced to go. So I have some love for the defensive linemen as well, but these defensive backs have been playing lights out. Now, for those who are playing in their IDP leagues, you may be saying to yourself, well, why am I going to be playing a defensive back in my IDP spots when linebackers get all the tackles? So what am I going to be doing with the defensive linemen in my spots? Because their metrics, their sacks, their quarterback hits, their pressures, all that don't amount to much. Well, that's why you're going to use our FIF IDP scoring here at Fantasy and Frames. It's our default scoring setting here. You go to fantasyandframes.com, you read all of our IDP articles, you will see the scoring settings there. We've posted them numerous times on Twitter. The preferred platform we recommend you using them on is Sleeper, because Sleeper has probably the most different metrics you can have to count fantasy points for, versus other platforms where you get kind of limited by what you can do, which ultimately limits the fantasy output that you have. And of course, the point values that we've assigned to each play makes it so that your defensive backs, your linebackers, your defensive linemen, in terms of fantasy point output, are all pretty comparable to one another. So now you can rationalize putting in a Derwin James over a linebacker, or you could say, I want to put in a Max Crosby over a defensive back or a linebacker. And I'm just using these names hypothetically, just throwing them out there. So it definitely brings a lot more balance, and it brings a lot more balance to being comparable on offense. So head over to fantasyframes.com, check out our FIF scoring settings here for IDP. And with that, let's get into players that are kind of on the rise here from a dynasty perspective. And let's start with your guy, Nate. We talked about him a lot this past season, in Arizona. Jalen Thompson. What do you got for us for Jalen Thompson?
Every week. I almost put him in the waiver wire article every single week, because each time I kept checking the percentage of rostered over at Fantasy Pros. Granted, it's never always perfect science, because even the best players are like 45%, but that's the nature of the beast. We get used to it. We just know, because you hear rumblings and talk, and we talked to others, and we got some really, really bright minds that we happen to have within our circle, which is wonderful because, you want those type of people. I don't want a bunch of dum-dums trying to tell me what to do because, granted, it makes you seem smarter when you're a bunch of idiots, but by proxy, you want smart people. So as long as you're not the idiot amongst the smart people, which luckily we're not, you also want studs around, other studs, and that's what Jalen Thompson was. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, safety duo. I mentioned last year going into probably week 2 or 3. That actually was week 3 because week 1 he didn't start, or he started but he didn't really perform. Weeks 2 and 3, Jalen Thompson. He's a supplemental 5th round pick. The guy just, his first year, full year as a starter. You want to talk about splash? He superseded Budda Baker as the number 1 in that secondary, if you ask me. It took a little bit for him to get there, but man, you want to talk about a big year last year. So here's another thing about Jalen Thompson too. As a supplemental 5th round pick, one of the reasons he slipped is that 2019 season. I read this today, which is news to me. He took an over-the-counter supplement, so he lost a full season of eligibility in college at Washington State. Oh, so wow. I think that actually dropped him a little bit. It doesn't mean he was going to be a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick potentially, and have this huge impact. But he kind of went untalked about, little unnoticed. Maybe somebody was talking about him. I wasn't paying any attention to him, but also didn't really do IDP back then. Now I do, and now I see that he, after in his first full season, 120 tackles, 79 solo, which was 4th most amongst all defensive backs, 7 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. He out-tackled Budda Baker last year. The thing with that, though, is we've talked about it forever. It's where he lines up in the situational. And if you look at like box snaps within the box where he's in, outside of being the free safety, Thompson 355 to Budda's 296. So he's in the box more. And Budda's relegated to more of that free safety role, which is not uncommon. We're not shocked by that, but by a staggering amount, nearly 300 free safety snaps for Budda versus the 168 for Thompson. And going into this year, same type of role. I don't expect the defense to get any worse. I think that the defense itself, they're going to have some missing pieces, obviously, we've talked to earlier, Chandler Jones and some others that'll be gone, but he'll have a bigger impact if you look at the overall tackle percent as a whole for the team. He already had a tackle percent last year of 12.3, or tackle rate, which is fantastic. To put that into comparison, Logan Ryan, who was one of the premier secondary, components, had an 11.7 tackle rate. So Jaylen Thompson, I've talked enough about him. I could go on and on. I think when we're talking about Dynasty Risers, I still think he's just, I don't know, he's overlooked because of the fact that he has to line up next to Budda Baker consistently.
No, absolutely. And, one of the complaints about trying to assess value for a player in Dynasty when it comes to IDP is that there's no official way to draw comparisons to offensive players, which is, again, why we created FIF IDP scoring. So if you were playing in a half PPR league and you had Jaylen Thompson and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, he's really producing well, but I'm deficient at wide receiver, for example, who is a comparable play that I could make in terms of like a trade, and then say, well, the rationale between me wanting that wide receiver for Jalen Thompson is because their fantasy output is relatively the same. Mm-hmm. Let me just give you some names of players that kind of equate to what Jalen Thompson's value was last year. You remember Cordell Patterson doing all the awesome things he did in fantasy last year? Mm-hmm. He would have been right up there with Cordell Patterson, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I mean, these are like 100-plus target wide receivers with tons of upside. That's Jalen Thompson. And here's the thing. If that's where he's starting, okay, we're talking about being the DB10 in FIF IDP scoring. If that's his starting point, being the full season as strong safety, the sky's the limit. Like, his IDP value in Dynasty is totally rising. I totally agree with you right there. Speaking of Logan Ryan, we'll just quickly segue into him just really quickly. Let go by the New York Giants, picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, reuniting with Tom Brady for all those years that they were together in New England. And, no more Jordan Whitehead. He's now with the the Jets,
Mhm.
and it's I'm excited. I'm excited about this Tampa Bay secondary. They brought back Carlton Davis, and we all know how much we love Carlton Davis with his
Yep.
pass breakups and what he's able to do there. But let's not fool. I don't care that Logan Ryan is 31 years old. This guy is still one of the best tacklers in all of football, and I say that all of football, meaning linebackers, meaning other safeties, meaning other defensive linemen. This guy gets the tackles, and he makes them. It makes him IDP relevant.
Yeah, and he falls along that same list with Tampa, in that there's a correlation between total man coverage snaps and overall tackle volume by secondary. And if you look at the top 10 of that grouping, where you take the total tackle leaders and then you see where they rank overall in man coverage snaps, and guess what? Where's Logan Ryan? He's second overall in total tackles, and again, he's in that top 25% of man coverage snaps, a la some of the other names that we might talk about. It's an under talked about, I'd say, comparison that I'm going to have to do a little bit more research this year to see, are there some players that are in that maybe left zone coverage schemes that are going to man coverage schemes, and what that impact could be on their overall tackle volume. Maybe that's something that we'll dive into at a later time to see how strong that correlation is and what that could mean for future success.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned talking about going from man coverage from zone coverage. And they tried to do that with Tracy Walker a couple seasons ago with the Detroit Lions, and that didn't really work out too well. Now, granted, last season is what I'm talking about. He was also suffering from shoulder and foot injuries, if memory serves me correctly. And, I put him in the Dynasty Risers has risen column for, a few reasons here. Normally when we talk about IDP defensive backs or just IDP players in general, efficiency is something that we hammer home to help support our arguments, because we want efficient players. We want people who we know are going to be on the football field. We don't want the Nate Garys of the world, Michael Bauer's favorite IDP Philadelphia Eagle linebacker. We don't want the Nate Garys of the world who are great for a couple weeks, but then they get pulled off the field because in real football, they play really poorly. That being said, when you look at the man missed tackle percentage when playing in man coverage, Tracy Walker just got awful, like not great at all. When you look at how he's played in zone coverage, though, his missed tackle percentage is only 4%. Like, that is really, really, really good. Compared to an overall missed tackle rate of 12.2%. That just tells you how really, really, really bad he is when playing in man coverage.
Right.
This guy, the tackles and coverage are there. He's on the Lions. The Lions are going to be a poor team for a long time, folks.
Hey.
And they're going to be thrown on. And Tracy Walker, when he plays in coverage, he gets there. He gets you the solo tackles in coverage. It's all about him playing in coverage and opportunity. And, some people might say, well, if he's not playing that well, then he's not going to get the opportunity. Folks, they just brought him back on like a $20 million deal. Yeah. He's going to get the opportunity. And he's going to be a cornerstone of that offense, or excuse me, that defense and that secondary for the Lions. So based off of what he did last year, averaging 12.1 points per game, he wasn't DB1, but he was right there in DB2 production. Just believe in Tracy Walker. And just think about this. He's doing all this, and he's having all this success in terms of fantasy point production, being as inefficient as possible as a whole. Imagine if he gets better. I hear it's possible through coaching and studying and doing all the things that these guys do to make themselves better each and every year, that it's possible to get better. Yeah. Shock. I know. I was shocked too when I heard that too. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Who do you got for us for another riser here, Nate?
We talked about it a little bit earlier. We mentioned the moves from team to team to team to team, and Jordan Whitehead out of Tampa, and he's with the Jets now. He felt the move to join Robert Saleh and that defense was the right fit for him. He feels that Marcus May-less role, and we saw what Marcus May could do when able to play a full 16 game schedule, which was 19 and 20. He go back to 2020. I mean, he had 88 tackles, 2 sacks, 11 passes defense, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery. Fill the stat sheet. Jordan Whitehead, by all accounts, in 59 games with the Bucs, has started 55 of them. Came out and immediately filled that role that they had. He finished 2021 with 73 tackles. He had 8 passes defense, 2 interceptions. So he's a ball hawk. He's capable of getting, behind the line of scrimmage. He last just in only 14 games last year. Mind you, that's all these numbers are. He was top 15 with 5 tackles for a loss. And you just combine this playmaking skill set that he has. I think the Jets are a much worse offense than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know that's probably going out on a really, really tight limb that I just did, but I do believe the Jets offense will not be Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, meaning I think Marcus May will see, an increase of snaps on the defensive side of the ball. Is that too much of a stretch to go into, do you believe?
You mean Jordan Whitehead?
Who did I say?
Marcus May.
Well, Marcus May will probably play less. But yeah, Jordan Whitehead, that's what I was talking about. Boy, I was looking at Marcus May's stats to make sure I got those right. But yeah, Jordan Whitehead, I think where he's at, I think the move might seem insignificant to some, but I liked him anyway. And this is just going to help me push him up my draft board just even further.
And Robert Saleh, this guy, when he was in San Francisco, I mean, you want to talk about dialing up pressures. Like I could see Whitehead just playing, that hashtag tackle machine role, whether it's closer to the line of scrimmage or being right there in the middle of the field. Yeah, I'm excited about Jordan Whitehead. He definitely has the opportunity. And I agree with you wholeheartedly about the Jets. They're not there yet. So definitely the opportunity is going to be there. But you touched on a player that I'm super excited on, and I really had not a lot to go off of. Marcus May, you kind of told the story right there as far as how well he played when he was healthy. Only played in 6 games last year. And it was his contract year, which, of course, fantasy managers and Jets fans who were fans of Marcus May, we were like, man, we really wanted him to play a whole year. But even if he played in 6 games, he was still a dominant force in football. When you look at FIF IDP scoring and points per game, he was the DB 6 overall. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's Derwin James, Harrison Smith, Logan Ryan, Marcus May. He's right there in the top 5, top 6, excuse me. Just a lot of good play there going now to New Orleans. And so it makes me wonder, and I'll kind of segue to a faller now. What does this mean? What does this mean for Malcolm Jenkins? The strong safety there. Soon to be 35 years old. You saw a lot of tip in his production. Normally he's a big passes defense guy, likes to break up the passes. Wasn't doing that so much this past year. When you look at fantasy point scoring here, using total points scored, he was a DB 55 in 2021. DB 55.
Yeah.
To give you an idea of what that meant, in 2020, he was a DB 7 overall. So that is a huge jump in fantasy production, which corresponds, of course, to real football production. There's a lot of stuff going not in his favor. This bringing in Marcus May, although Marcus May played free safety in New York, Malcolm Jenkins played strong safety. Part of me thinks that maybe you're going to see Marcus May kind of play more of that strong safety role going forward in New Orleans, and Malcolm Jenkins, they could save some money by cutting him. So I don't know how long he's going to be there. And if they do indeed make the switch for Marcus May going over to strong safety, this could be it for Malcolm Jenkins in terms of being somebody that you want to roster in your fantasy leagues. And his value is definitely, by hook or by crook, it's declining.
Yeah, it's crazy. On the decline, when you talk about these guys that are just falling, it doesn't have to be a 35-year-old who's seeing a dip in his production based off of just, a little longer in the tooth and potentially that has its effect on everybody. Everybody's human. Some people are in their, third year of the end, or fourth year, I guess is what it is. And man, it's almost 5 years now for John Johnson III. Yeah. Long way around of saying, look, talk about how quickly the mighty have fallen. Good Lord. I mean, that was 2018. That was his second season. And he was a beast, 5th amongst all safeties in passes defended, 70 tackles, DB 5 overall using our ESPN modified IDP scoring. I mean, that was 13.5 points a game. If you put 13.5 points per game in comparison to like we were doing earlier with the correlation between the wide receiver position in a half-point PPR scoring, just to put him on the same bar, that at 13.5, he would have been the wide receiver 10. He would have been on par with Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, the Mike Evans of the world. I'd say Julio Jones, but that doesn't exactly elicit thoughts. But that was from the 2020 season. We'll say when, go back to last year, there's a little bit better names across that. But yeah, we've seen John Johnson. We thought, man, look at the Rams. They really just absolutely stole him. And then now this even more subsequent switch over to Cleveland. It hasn't been exactly a prosperous one. Yeah. I mean, he was the defensive back 41 to put it into perspective. Now he still averaged 11 points per game, which is one of the things about defensive backs in all scoring formats. The variance between like from 2020 where he was at 11 to 7.9 in 2021. You see, that's only, about 3 points per game separation. That difference took him from the defensive back 41 down to the defensive back 131. So, I mean, only 3 points, but that separates, almost 90 spots worth. It is 90 spots in math. Good job. Look at that. No calculator even. Nope. Hands.
After 10 p.m. too. Look at you. That's your.
I know. It's not for me. It's 9:49 here.
All
so,
right, well, whatever. Take the compliment. It's fine.
Exactly. Fair enough. I don't think many people are going to argue that if having to choose a defensive back in their dynasty drafts, John Johnson isn't going to be near the top of that list. Some might say, let's give him another chance. We'll see what happens as a result. But I'm not buying.
Yeah, it makes me feel like this move to Cleveland was about shoring up the secondary in Cleveland, not necessarily putting one player or a few players on a pedestal to be the guy, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
which is not great for the John Johnson managers out there. Definitely seeing a dip in value. Before we get into another faller, let's go back to some risers here, and let's talk about cornerback now. And you last offseason when we were doing our team previews for offense and IDP, you were pretty high also in AJ Terrell. During the course of the season, we were seeing how well he was playing. He was the DB 24 in PPR in FIF scoring on the Sleeper app. Mm-hmm. He was, in terms of overall finish, according to Pro Football Focus, he was finishing as the defensive back 8. And I say defensive back, that's including cornerback and safeties. 8 overall. He was tied for 6th amongst all the defensive backs in passes defense with 16. He was the top 20 defensive back in man coverage, DB 8 when playing in zone, 81 total tackles. I mean, this guy just played lights out, and he had a missed tackle rate of 6.3%. That's ridiculously absurd. These are fantastic numbers. And, last I checked, Falcons are probably not going to be that good this year. Who do they have to throw the ball to? I don't know. I do, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like was all something Zacchaeus? Something with I don't even know. I can't even say this name. I can't even say the wide receiver's name, but you know who I'm talking about. And this, what does that mean? This means the defense is going to be there on the field a lot. My only concern, which is why I have him as a could rise in dynasty value, is, eventually coaches learn. Quarterbacks learn, offensive schemes learn that, hey, if this person on this side of the field is stopping all these passes to getting to my wide receiver, maybe I'll go on the other side of the field. Yeah. And it is that concern. Now, they just did bring in somebody in free agency who's also a top quarterback. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. Do you know who it is?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no, because I don't. The good news is again, I have sweet internet that tells me, oh, wait, they brought in Casey Hayward?
Casey Hayward. There we go, from the Chargers, right?
Yeah. Well, Vegas, technically. Raiders.
Sorry. Okay. He played all those years with the Chargers. Now he's coming over from the Raiders. Okay. Well, Casey Hayward used to be really, 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 really good as a corner. Mm-hmm. So now that makes me wonder, okay, well, if he can continue being that way in Atlanta, maybe they don't shy away from Terrell. maybe the narrative is that, okay, because he's still a young player, we're still going to go after him. With a 6.3 missed tackle percent, go for it. Go after him.
Mm-hmm.
One of those instances, like a Kenny Moore. I'm not saying he's Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore is a cornerback, who is great for IDP fantasy football. Can AJ Terrell be that guy? Well, he's definitely on the path of getting that opportunity. If he continues to get that opportunity, though, is my thought there.
Yeah, and that's always that does go into the whole situation. I mean, clearly, the key for a corner to ever be significant, you can't rely on the interceptions to be. I mean, they can get sticky, but realistically, it's not the stickiest of stat. You want target volume, and with the missed target, missed tackle rate is excellent as his is. He might allow the catch, but I'll take like Kenny Moore. You talk about Kenny Moore, 125 targets last year, 125 targets. And I don't know if he's going to get 125 again, but he didn't grade out as a great corner. It's not like Kenny Moore is this fantastic shutdown. Nobody wants to attack that side of the field type position, that player. He mans the slot, and he gets a lot of, I'd say, I don't want to say junk thrown his way, but he does. He has a much more ranging area of reception, if you will. I don't know if there's a better term to say than that, but that explains it.
We'll go with it.
It could be. I mean, it could be the tight end. It could be the running back. It could be multiple different receiver sets. And he was just attacked. That just is the fact of the matter. And that's one of the reasons why I have Kenny Moore actually as one of my Dynasty risers, not because I don't think that he's already going to be decently attacked in drafts, but I think he might be the first corner actually off the board. And a lot of those things that we just talked about support that. He led corners in solo tackles, 13.4 fantasy points per game. He led corners in targets, 15th in passes defensed, third among corners with 8 pressures. Yet here's the thing. No quarterback hits. So if he still gets that same number of pressures, the law of averages would state that positive regression would be in his favor, and we should see at least a couple quarterback hits. And we know how quarterback hits affect fifth scoring. Those added, say, 4-6 points could really come in handy and could separate him from being the defensive back, 8 to being, top 5 potentially. That's how narrow that grouping can be.
No, exactly. And that's part of what makes IDP fun and also frustrating at times.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said a little bit earlier, just 3 points can go a long way to offsetting where you are. So when you're assigning these risers and fallers categories, you have to really think about what you're doing here. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying there on Kenny Moore. There's another player here that's a riser who John June, who's the host of the FF Diagnostics podcast. He came on. He's a huge Jets fan, by the way. So the fact that he knows this player and knew this player really well last August when we had him on Fourth and Frames, we were doing the AFC East divisional preview podcast, and we got to IDP. And so I was talking a lot about the Bills, the Poyers and the Hydes, and I was talking about, the Eric Rose and the Xavier Howards in Miami, Marcus May of the Jets. And he comes to me and he's like, so what are your thoughts on a young player by the name of Kyle Duggar? And I'm like, who? And he said, Kyle Duggar. Yeah, no, this is coming out of his rookie year. He's got some good play. Really good in college. He could potentially be taking the next step here. What are your thoughts on him? And I'm like, I have egg on my face. I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. Kyle Duggar, in his first full season as a strong safety for the New England Patriots, ranked first amongst all defensive backs in run stopping percentage, second overall in run stops. He was a DB4 in total tackles. He had a solo tackle rate of close to 10% and a total tackle rate of 12.5%. He was averaging about 12 fantasy points per game. So if I'm going to go back to drawing comparisons here to offense, let me pull up my little app here and see where 12 fantasy points per game gives me. We're talking about, again, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Hunter Renfrow, Jalen Waddle, Michael Pittman. I mean, solid play. Man, like this is the guy that we kind of like normally would gush about, Nate, when it comes to defensive backs. Like strong safety, plays close to the line of scrimmage, just a thumper. Is going to get to the ball carrier and make plays after play after play after play. If you go read the article over at fantasyandframes.com, which, by the way, head over to fantasyandframes.com today and read all of our risers and fallers articles on offense, defense, the linebacker, defensive lineman. We have all these articles here for the risers, the fallers, who could rise, who could fall, who have definitely risen and definitely fallen. You can check all that out at fantasyandframes.com today. In the article, I put in a clip where he's basically rushing through a 330-pound linebacker. Okay. I'm talking like a safety running towards a 330-pound linebacker, offensive lineman, excuse me. And completely trucked him to the ground. Like it was straight up impressive. Just on that alone, I would be like, you know what? You all can go get your Derwin Jameses and who else? I'm gonna wait for Kyle Duggar. And he played lights out, man. He played lights out. Let's get to now some rise or fallers here. This one hurts me a little bit because I was such a huge fan of his when he was in Houston. And what I liked about him the most is that he was like one of the very first safety / cornerbacks hybrids that you saw in defenses in the NFL. When you needed him to make tackles at the line of scrimmage, he was getting you that safety production, getting those tackles. When you needed him to get you those passes defense and those plays and those tackles in the secondary, he was doing that. I'm talking about Kareem Jackson. And here's the thing. Despite leading every single Bronco on defense in tackles last year, okay, he still finished as the DB 80 in points per game with an average of 9.1 and the DB 69 in fantasy points scored.
Eesh.
Ridiculous. Why? Because all the other stuff that he was really good at doing, he didn't do well anymore. Or at least he didn't do well last year.
Right.
Entering his 13th season now, it may be time to, go and say goodbye to Kareem Jackson in your IDP leagues here, just because, youth is taking over. And as much as I was a huge fan of his, I can't say that he's maybe even not worth rostering at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, he was so far off my board. Not so far. He's off. I had to drop him. He's probably around 40 right now for me. And I mean, that's draftable if you have 4 defensive back spots. But in that same breath, I'm just as likely to go with someone like maybe a Taron Johnson or even if, Marcus May's right around that same spot right now as far as early preseason rankings and maybe his spot. I'll tell you a person who I'm intrigued landing spot could be totally indicative is what Tyrann Mathieu going to do. And I don't know. And I'm still uncertain on, Justin Reed coming over exactly if he's going to be. I don't think the role he's going to have is going to be quite the same as what Mathieu had. I think they gave Tyrann Mathieu kind of carte blanche on that defense because he was, he was the leader of the defense. He understood, he had everything ready to go and he was set in that I felt comfortable he could potentially kind of be the Swiss Army knife and do a lot of everything. I think he still has that ability wherever he goes. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And again, Matthew's 1 year older. He's heavily linked right now to the Saints, the last I saw. And I think the signing of May probably eliminates that. I think that was 10 days ago, last I heard. So since then, I haven't heard much in the market for him. But that's a could fall because landing spot could dictate a lot of that. And if the landing spot is not ideal, then I know I'm grateful for what he did for KC and love him as a real football player. But I don't know if I trust the ups and downs and ebbs and flows that he had last year in fantasy scoring. If you look at that as an overall, I mean, let's see, in our fantasy, our IDP scoring, Tyrann Mathieu on a per game, I have gotten carpal tunnel in my finger.
He got 10.2 points per game.
And he didn't appear there he is. He's 54. So outside the DB4. So yeah. I think that says a lot right there.
It does. And of course it says a lot when I'm out to say that Washington is a potential landing spot that he's been heavily linked to here in our nation's capital.
Oh, so, interesting.
Indeed.
That would be fun for you.
No more Landon Collins. We need somebody back there to help lead these gentlemen.
I would like that. Him and Cameron Curl back there would be fun to have.
Yeah, I so want Reeves though. Remember the guy who came on like the past 3 weeks of the season who just was just a tackle machine for Washington. I kind of wish he got more play this year. But if Mathieu does come over, then the leadership there I think could go a long way with helping this defense here in Washington. But
that's true. Yeah, I don't say I forgot about Jeremy Reeves, but you're right. He was after 4 years in the league, finally making a name for himself. And here Bobby McCain. What about Bobby McCain?
That's another one. But I want to say Reeves was the guy who was really taking off there towards the end of the season. So
definitely was.
But anywho, so with that, I think that's going to round out, unless you got somebody else here, Nate. No. The risers and fallers here at defensive back. Go back on YouTube, go to our YouTube page. Please go to our YouTube page. I've been spending a lot of time trying to optimize that for you all so you can find things a little bit easier when you're searching for us on Google. Funny thing about Google, Nate, if you type in Dynasty Risers and Fallers, you know which website comes to the very top of the list in the search results?
Well, I can do this real quick, and let me give you the answer. Dynasty Risers and Fallers. And number one is, do I tell you, top first page?
Yes, first page.
I see Fantasy and Frames right there.
How about that?
And some pretty good company too, because you know the other names that are with it?
What's that? Who?
Fantasy Pros and Rotoballer.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty good.
We're ahead of CBS Sports in terms of order, if you look at that.
If we have Dave Richard on again this year, as he always is a friend of us, I'll definitely be reminding him of this.
I will not do that because you want him to come back on. We'll collectively talk smack against the other ones that are down below. That's like you're always supposed to do,
right?
And we'll ask him if he wants to jump into the Fantasy Pros IDP ranking competition, so then we can have him. We need more people, by the way. If you're listening right now and you're an IDP ranker, or I'm not going to ever use the term expert. Nobody is an expert, if you ask me. But jump in. Reach out to the guys at Fantasy Pros. We need more people involved in that overall competition. And it's a better collection of data if you're going to do it properly. If you're not going to do it and you just want to jump in there just to say you're going to do it, then please don't, because we don't need these screwed up, weekly rankings and overall to skew any of the already somewhat can be skewed aggregate totals when you have people not paying attention to doing it. So I ask for a favor and then I berate you at the same time if you don't do it right.
For those who are motivated by challenges, then you're definitely listening to what Nate's saying, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to register with Fantasy Pros Expert Consensus Ranking Competition this coming year. Head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out all of our risers and fallers articles. Tune in to Dynasty 365, our Dynasty fantasy football podcast, solely dedicated to Dynasty fantasy football. For all you IDP fans, tune in this Tuesday. We live stream, or I should say Brian Ford and Tyler Heil, they live stream on Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Do that, and they are going to have Hollywood Titan from IDP guys come over and talk about some rookie prospects for the NFL draft this year. So check that out on Tuesday. And of course, the podcast will be released on Wednesday morning. And of course, we will be back to our normal time here at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays going forward for the rest of the year. Knock on wood. And that's going to do it for us here. Nate literally just texted me and said that he just lost power. Wait, oh, no, wait, hold on. Is he back? He is back.
Yeah.
Back. That's weird. You just you lost power at like the most random time. That's hilarious.
Just the computer too.
So I was just telling everybody that Hollywood, our friend Hollywood, is going to be on Dynasty 365 on Tuesday to talk some IDP rookies with Brian and Tyler. So tune into that. And Nate, you and I, we have our own Dynasty our own IDP podcast coming out pretty soon called Shoot the Gap. That should be out, I want to say, around NFL draft season, maybe a little bit after that, once we get some player locations here that, for all these rookies. So stay tuned for that, as well as, we have articles. We have our Dynasty Targets articles going to be coming out. And I know the guys over in the UK, Jonathan and Bill, they are chomping at the bits to get their content out because they've been waiting for us to publish that content for a long time. So we're going to be doing that, and then we'll get you ready for the Dynasty Targets articles. We're going to get you ready for the impact of what free agency is going to have on all our favorite fantasy football players. The month of April is pretty much going to be dedicated to Dynasty Targets and rookies, incoming rookie classmen, getting you ready for the NFL draft. We'll be live streaming the NFL draft like we did last year, rounds 1 and 2, where that's going to turn into a show, I believe, at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. However, 12 a.m. The folks who were watching saw me get my Uber Eats McDonald's, which I needed so desperately bad at that point. So more of that awesome stuff coming your way.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's in Jorge's McDonald's bag?
Exactly.
That's a question. We want to know what would have been delivered. Would it be? Are you a value McDonald's buyer? Like you like quantity versus the quality of items, or do you like to go big and just get 2 key items and focus that direction?
So you could go like the McDouble route where you could just like load up on McDoubles or McChickens, and they're like $2 a piece, and you just get a whole bag full of them and just munch down. Yep. Truth be told, I used to be a huge fan of Big Macs, but I think they're making them smaller. To be honest with you, they seem like they're a lot smaller now, and they just don't fill me up as much as they did. And that's like a
child.
Yeah.
And you could remember when 20 McNuggets used to be like the craziest like challenge in the history of the world. It's like, what? 20 in one sitting? No, I'm sharing them with people. You better kiss my ass. What's the proper number of dipping sauces to chicken nugget ratio, Jorge?
So I'll tell you. So first of all, I think at least once every couple weeks when I'm driving home, because I have an hour commute, you better believe I'm stopping at the McDonald's drive-thru, getting like a large Coke and 20 McNuggets. Yep. And the answer to your question, Nate, is 2 to 3. I'm a honey mustard and sweet and sour guy when it comes to the dipping sauces there for the McNuggets. What about yourself?
I'm a sweet and sour and barbecue. I do understand there's a push, that Polynesian type sauce, whatever theirs is called. Tropical Polynesian's Chick-fil-A sauce, but I believe McDonald's has one too.
I've never heard of that one before.
If not, I don't know. McDonald's is not my go-to. It's still easy. I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I still stop in enough. I mean, clearly, but it's not like my like my number one stop. Now, the kids and Carrie, if there's a kind of a, hey, we're going to stop real quick, it's like, it's always McDonald's. And then it's like, Are you a Chick-fil-A fan or a fish fillet fan? That's kind of a
I do like the fish fillets. I'm a huge fan of those. As far as McDonald's goes, I more often than not hit them up for breakfast, to be honest with you.
Yep, that's fair.
I used to be a big bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit person. If I wanted to go the burrito route because I didn't want to deal with anything, I just wanted something easy, fine. but I'm slowly converting into a sausage egg McMuffin fan. And
can I teach you a cheat code for that? If you ask me,
are you gonna put the hash browns inside the sandwich?
Could, but no.
Okay.
I sub the biscuit for a hamburger bun.
For which sandwich are we talking about now?
Any of the above. Anything with the biscuit. I don't care for the biscuit. I do. I think it's delicious, but I don't know, something about having the hamburger bun. Jimmy Dean is a restaurant that used to carry. That's what we call them. I don't know if that's actually where it came from, but
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So you sub the biscuit for a hamburger bun, and it's like a little sausage hamburger. Boom, boom. It's not real like greasy like the biscuit can be sometimes.
Damn.
Yeah, there you go. Try it sometime. You might like it.
What time is it? Is it?
They serve that bitch all day long, I'm sure, don't they?
Seriously. That's definitely on the agenda tomorrow morning. You better believe it. Speaking of tomorrow morning, Nate, so I have a meeting with Will Harris, the head of Viridian Global.
Oh.
And, with our new logos that we have here, I've been on a hot streak of like ordering shirts and designing new t-shirts and stickers and all sorts of stuff. And so if this goes well, knock on wood, we're going to be announcing a lot of new merchandise, a lot of new variety of colors and options for everybody. Anybody, whatever your favorite color is, we're going to have all of that ready to go at Viridian Global with our Fantasy and Frames logo on there. So stay tuned for that. We'll post the links for that on the various social media pages. I've been dropping the ball on TikTok. I'm going to get back into that really soon. So look forward to that as well as the Instagram lives. What do you have going on this weekend, Nate?
I work tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I am off on Sunday. Chances are I will be pretty much doing watching basketball and spring training baseball games.
Nice.
Other than that, I don't know. My wife's Carrie's in Florida with her girlfriends. Left me back here all by my lonesome. So I'm just talking to all of you out there. Bored. Need some. Wants to jump on talk. Let me know. I got time. Why do you ask?
I'm just I'm curious. The fans need to get a little peek into the lives.
They want to know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I don't think they do.
So I used to be a person who used to go out a lot for St. Patrick's Day. Like that was my day. Whenever I was working, I would make sure like I need the 18th off, or just for obvious reasons. But ever since 2013, I have not gone out and celebrated a quote unquote St. Patrick's Day.
Well, that's a long time.
That is a long time.
I thought you were going to say like ever since like last year or 2 years ago.
No, 2013. The rationale, or the reason rather, for doing so is St. Patrick's Day is my wife's birthday.
So that's right. Yeah. Happy belated. It's not, I wished her happy birthday, so I don't have to say it that way. Like a jerk.
You did. So I decided, you know what? I rather spend time with my wife on her birthday, and she doesn't like to go out drinking with the Guinness and the car bombs and all the other jazz that I'm still thinking I'm not too old for. First of all, are we too old to do Irish car bombs? I don't think we are.
I did one 6 days ago. So the answer is no. Unless 43 and 2 months is too old. Here's the thing about that. Real quick. So it was Carrie and the girls upstairs were doing a little St. Patty's Day, pre-St. Patty's Day celebration. And I was down here in the middle of I was doing a baseball podcast draft and couldn't leave. And I had my trusty wine with me, and I was drinking my red wine. And she ran down the steps. I could hear her. She was drunk. And she's down the steps. And she's like, drink it. Hurry up. It's going to curdle. Because, car bombs will curdle. She already poured it.
Yeah.
And like she reached across this, like behind me. So I'm reaching here. This is the computer here. I just bought this computer. It's,
Is this the Mac?
Yeah, it's 24-inch monitor. So she's reaching over this to get to me. And I was like, swear to God, if you spill that on my computer, I'm going to punch you. Not you personally. I'm going to punch the table in anger.
There you go.
Do not condone. I would never punch her.
Nope.
Please, nobody ever think that I would. It's hyperbole. Nope. But it had curdled a little bit. And the combination of red wine acidity and Guinness, Jaeger, and Bailey's is the most atrocious taste in your mouth you'll ever have. So if someone ever offers you a Cabernet Irish car bomb, turn it down because it's fucking disgusting. Freaking disgusting.
No, you had it right the first time. Yeah, I will never try that. Thank you very much for letting me know. But circling the plane though. So didn't my wife came home. We went out to dinner. Just a really cool evening, hang out with our puppy. Just cool times. Wednesday, however, my coworkers were like, you know what, Jorge, let's just go out and have a pre-St. Patrick's Day celebration on Wednesday. And I did. And it was fantastic. So tomorrow, my wife wants to go to this winery with her parents who are coming down from Pennsylvania.
Careful.
So, yeah, I know.
No car bombs at the winery.
I mean, if they, that'd be so awesome if they did do that. Because
I just told you not to do that.
Why? Why can't I?
Do an Irish car bomb at the winery?
Yeah.
I just told you it's the worst combination ever.
Oh, well, what if I had that first and then I had wine after?
Oh, well, that sounds fine.
Okay. Well, then there we go. That's exactly what I'll do.
You're just going to walk in and instead of ordering wine, the first thing out of your mouth is going to be an Irish car bomb?
Yeah.
I like it. You're going to catch them off guard. They're going to be like, this dude's here to party.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah.
With his in-laws. Although I'll tell you what, so over the summer we went for our family vacation to Cape May, which if you haven't been there, folks, and you're on the East Coast, Cape May is a beautiful city, beautiful town right by the ocean. And I am a very big planner. I want to know what we're doing when we're doing it and just do it.
Yep.
My in-laws and my wife and their family are like the exact opposite of that. And so it got to the point where we're like 4 days into the vacation and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take this. Mm-hmm. So I looked up local wineries and I'm like, that's it. Pack your shit. We're going right now. And so none of the guys wanted to go. So it was my niece who was visiting from South America. It was my mom and it was my mother-in-law and me. And we got to the winery, we got our table. And I said, you know what, ladies, we're going to be doing this Jorge style. And she's like, and they're all like, what does that mean? And my mom's like, son, what are you possibly talking about? I don't know what this means. And I went to the place to go get the bottles of wine. I came back with like 4 bottles of wine, basically a bottle of wine per person. And I'm like,
yep,
drink it.
No.
And we had an awesome time.
I bet.
So I'm hoping that's what tomorrow turns into. But since it's my wife's birthday celebration, something tells me I have to be the responsible one. So
how far is it? How far of a drive?
So we're in near Manassas, Virginia, and this is in Leesburg, Virginia. So it's about like an hour ish, a little bit more than an hour.
Yep, can't Uber that shit.
No. And the crazy thing is, have you ever had delirium tremens, the Belgian ale?
No.
It is really good, really high in alcohol content percentage. And there's a delirium tap house in Leesburg also that I would totally love to try, but not doing it tomorrow. Maybe for my birthday, which is in a month. I'll do it then. But anyhow, so that's what I'll be doing. Hanging out with my in-laws, hanging out with my wife, hanging out with my dog, and hanging out with my mom, and just having a good time, just chilling out, and getting ready for next week.
Yeah. Can you take the dog to the winery?
We can't. Well, yes, and we're gonna take Penny to the winery, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be a little neat to see what's going on there, how she reacts to being in large crowds, because obviously with everything COVID wise, you can't go out anywhere. So this will be
we're stopping that, Jorge. We're not going to use the because of COVID excuse any longer for not being able to do your normal thing.
I agree with you. I agree. I 100% agree with what you just said.
So at what point does it stop that I'm not saying I don't believe COVID is still around and that there are precautions and being wise about things. You should take certain precautions and be smart.
Yeah.
But I hope that we get to the point at some point soon where every day I don't have to talk about because of something COVID related. That will be a burden off of all of our shoulders that we all need personally.
Totally. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if somebody's coughing uncontrollably, maybe you just don't want to be standing next to that person.
Correct. Yet it's ironic because bronchitis, which is a very cough-inducing disease, I was told, for the most part, isn't contagious.
How about that?
So when you stand next to a person coughing, I still would take precaution and probably not put my mouth over their mouth while they're coughing, because that's gross and dangerous. But at the same time, we just, so here's the craziest thing I've seen. Here's the one thing. I work at the dealership, and I sit, my office is, I don't know, a little bit away from the restrooms.
Right.
I can tell you that we don't have paper towels. We have all the Dyson dryers, which are gross.
Oh, I love those.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know, but they're nasty. They spit shit in the air and it's gross. But regardless, if a person only has that source to dry their hands and they exit said bathroom and you don't hear the jets go off, nasty mofo didn't wash their hands, or they're going straight wet hands, which is crazy because no one does that anymore.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, they're like, I've never heard the bathrooms so much lately. And I go, no. What you hear is people actually washing their hands a little bit more because we've been nasty prior to this COVID, and COVID made us have some actual personal hygiene, which is effed up, bro. That's what it did. It made us aware that you should wash your hands, which we should all know anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Wash your hands, cover your mouth, use your common sense, which
what?
Common what? Yeah, no.
Say what?
Yeah, I'm with you there, dude. I'm all for playing it safe to a certain degree and not putting yourself in dumb positions, but the same can be said about anything, and I just wish that we get to that point where things are, normal-ish. To a certain degree. So we'll see how this all pans out. Obviously, but I hope it will not cause any issues for the rest of the year, especially in August when we're all going to the Fantasy Football Expo in a large mass gathering of people who love fantasy football together. Don't have to worry about any of that. You're like, I don't care. I'm going.
I didn't care last year. Look at us.
This is true.
Constantly.
I didn't.
Did you get COVID?
No, I didn't. I did not. No. In fact, nobody, I think, at the expo reported any.
Nobody did. Amazing. The biggest group of, all we do is sit inside and talk football. It's not like we're, we're far from superior athletes, contrary to what this year is going to prove when we have, football skills competitions and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow our antibodies were up to the fight with all of us around each other.
Exactly. Oh my God, the skills competition at the expo is going to be ridiculous. This is what Bob Long. You are doing an amazing thing. Again,
I can't wait. I hurt myself.
It's like, and I just twisted my ankle. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, there won't be no ankle twisting because I won't compete in the 40-yard dash or anything. I could throwing a football would be fine. I can do that. Maybe still, nice. I don't know. We'll see.
We have plenty of time to get ourselves ready for that.
No, we don't. That's a lie. 0% will do anything in preparation for any of those activities whatsoever. I can tell you I'm going to, and I will not go and, practice throwing in the backyard. These people, the majority of the people there are 15 to 20 years or younger.
Yeah. That's something, and I'm glad you brought that up because
I am, at least.
I'm too. All you content creators in the Twitter sphere, I don't think you realize, like, Nate and I may act young, but you all are actually a lot younger than we are. But we're so cool that we still don't appear that way. So
I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
because you're so cool, Nate. I didn't even realize that you could be my father. Seriously, I could. Really, I got 23 and a 21-year-old at the house.
Well, it's not unheard of. Not saying that that's
it's not unheard of. I just said it. It's true.
Exactly. There we go.
Right there. Look at him doing nothing. Bunch of bums.
I can't see because there's the background screen, so I couldn't see what you were doing.
There's also a door and a bedroom.
Oh, right.
They don't just sit around the computer watching me.
They should.
He's going on.
They
I can't wait.
Bow down to the magnificence that is Nate Markham. It's funny. I say I'm going to work out and get ready for the expo. I'm pretty sure I just tore a knee ligament walking up the stairs just normally.
Yeah,
because I on my bad knee where I tore a meniscus a few years ago, I'm walking upstairs yesterday, and right in the back of my knee, I feel something just go, and it's like I can't straighten it out without being pain. So yeah, when you walk and you tear shit, like yeah. So
Jorge, I played a darts league on Tuesday nights, and this is the first time I played in about 2 years because we moved about 35 minutes away, and I don't like, I don't like being responsible and going to a bar and playing darts league and having 2 beers. That's stupid to me. I'm sorry. That's probably signs of, bad things, but I can, control myself. But I like to have, I don't like to drink and drive, and I won't, even if it's more than 2 beers. That's my thing.
Right.
I don't think I'm too worried about, here, Nate, what a bitch. He won't drink and drive. What an idiot. That's good. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But my bicep from throwing stupid darts, like I have tendonitis or something in my biceps, tendonitis from throwing a dart.
Gotta have ice packs ready in your car when you're driving home.
Exactly. Ice my elbow after vigorous dart throwing.
Speaking of icing one's elbow, I went out of my way last weekend, and my wife's like, "Oh, we got to go do this. We got to do this. We got to get ready for whatever, something, because God knows there's always something to get ready for." And I'm like, "No, I'm going to do what I want to do." And I said it, and I actually followed through with it. I wanted to watch Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
I hadn't watched that movie since I was a kid. That's a lie. I watched
Rowan Gardner.
Rowan Gardner. Yes, exactly. Yes. Way to go, run a mucker. Yeah, no,
exactly.
Love that movie. Gary Busey, going off the deep end. Gary Busey. May he rest in peace. I don't even know if he's still alive anymore.
Oh, is he really? I don't know.
I don't know. So I'm just going to say rest in peace because
I know his son is an actor.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Do you know what he's been in?
Yeah, he's been in. What's the heck? I mean, I say this so quickly, like I could name him off the top, but I know he's been in a bunch of things. Name's Jake Busey. He was, and actually, I think his grandson is actually in some movies as well. I'll tell you exactly. I know.
Gary Busey.
Jake Busey has been in the movie Starship Troopers.
Ooh. He's the blonde guy. Is he he?
Yep.
I know. Oh my God. Yep. He is okay.
Contact.
Yep. Gary Busey is still alive. So
yes, he is. Sorry.
So preemptive rest in peace. Thank you. Okay, good. Keep doing your thing, Gary Busey, or should I say Rocket? But damn it, I was just about to talk about another movie I just saw recently, but nope. Can't really think.
I still haven't seen the Batman yet.
You haven't? Oh, come on. I mean, you've been sick, so that kind of makes sense. But
it's true. Exactly. That's the whole reason, because I can't go to the movie and fucking bronchitis. I was hacking. I mean, just hacking a lot, and that was never going to be good because it's just. I'm not going to interrupt a movie and people watching that for that. So,
right. Yeah, I have my thoughts about it. I'll wait till you watch it because I don't want to say anything, but I have my thoughts about it, which are good thoughts.
Okay. I was going to say good.
Yeah. Well, fuck it. I'll just tell you. It was very good. I will always be a Nolan fan.
That's fair. You're not.
Everybody has their version of iteration of Batman that they're going to hang their head. There are a lot of Keaton people out there. I'm sure when the Flash movie comes out next year and they see Michael Keaton reprise his role as Batman, everybody's going to be like, he's the best Batman ever. And I'm sure in 20, 30 years when Christian Bale gets talked out of retirement to come play for an exorbitant amount of money, the Batman role again, he's Christian Bale is it's very cyclical.
I'm not into like noirs, and I think that's kind of the overarching theme, a little bit of that style. Isn't that right?
Are we talking about the Batman?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. One of the things about other Batman movies is there's always complaints about, well, it's too corny looking, it's too hokey looking. One of the critiques of the Nolan movies was, well, the fight scenes were pretty garbage, and like you didn't really see him be a real good detective type of person. The Batman is the first Batman movie to combine everything and do it really well.
What'd you think of the length of it?
I didn't notice it, to be honest with you. My wife noticed it because I kept on seeing her check her watch when we were watching the movie. And she's like, damn, this shit's still going on. I'm like, yes, it's still going on. Let's keep enjoying it. But it is a long movie. I'm not going to lie. But it is worth seeing. It's definitely good to go check out. Yeah. How are you doing in your bracket?
I don't know. I didn't even care this year. I didn't really do it. I entered one here. I honestly didn't do much in the way of like research, contrary to most things that I do. I try not to, suck at it.
Right.
Which is like a little must do type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I had 3. So I was going to research also. Didn't. I downloaded the CBS app, and they have like options where it's like, we'll auto select based off of this criteria. And there were like 3 different criteria. So I'm like, okay, I'll pick a bracket from each different auto select criteria. So one of those, I had Kentucky going to the national championship and winning. Saw how that happened. And I saw them going against Colorado State. And we all saw what happened there. So thank you very much, Michigan. So that bracket got busted. And here I am looking at my rankings right now, and I don't know whether it's the Guinness that I just had or the 3 Guinnesses I had prior to the show, but I thought for a minute there I was in place 1,715. Nope, I'm actually in 1,715,234. So I don't think I'm winning any of these brackets this year. I'm a Maryland fan. I will always not like Duke. I will always have mad respect for Coach K as a coach. Just not when he's coaching Duke going against Maryland. What he was able to do for the Redeem team in basketball, for the Olympics, what he's done for USA basketball. You know this guy is a legendary figure in the sport when high-profile athletes who can't even get along with their own coaching staffs in the pros are like, you know what? I want to go play for Coach K in the Olympics. Like that shows you just how good of a guy he is in terms of being a basketball mind. He swears a lot. One of my friends, Ian, he went to Duke, and he would tell me at the games, Coach K really does swear a lot, and I've never heard him swear. So I thought that was kind of interesting there. Fun fact.
Yeah, I did not. I wouldn't project that or predict that either, but. So I have all 8 Elite 8 teams still in it. Nice. So that's good. So I didn't fall prey to the nope, take that back.
It's like, nope, actually
no, I do. I just don't have all my I had Purdue beating Kentucky anyway to go against Baylor. So I still have that. But that's like I picked let's see. South Dakota State, who against Providence, actually, South Dakota State ranked really high in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. And teams that are in the top like 25 of both of those 2 stats have a tendency to do well in NCAA tournaments. So I thought, you know what, that would be my dark horse. Go past the first 2 rounds. Had them upsetting Providence and then upsetting Iowa. Iowa lost anyway to Richmond. South Dakota State loses, so I don't have any of those 2, but I also have Kansas advancing for that. That's the key. Brackets are never busted unless your team is that misses the Final Four. I mean, that's really the worst is when you start getting to the Final Four missing. But
yeah, I have Kentucky's out for the Final Four. But I have Gonzaga, Arizona, and Kansas are the remaining Final Four teams. I have Gonzaga going against Arizona and Gonzaga winning in both brackets. So the second one I have Gonzaga, Villanova, and Auburn.
Okay.
And then in the championship, you have Auburn getting past Villanova to face Gonzaga, and Gonzaga beating Auburn.
Wow. Two different ones in both the.
Yeah. It's
I like that. Interesting. My Final Four is the Zags and Baylor. And the other side is the Illini and Kansas. And the Illini, of course, have no business. If they're going to put some games behind them, the last two they've played have been garbage. They got beat by Indiana in the Big Ten tournament in round 1, and then they they beat Chattanooga in the opening round tonight by 1. And Chattanooga is a 13 seed. Illinois should have done a lot better as far as the last couple games have been atrocious. But prior to that, they were playing extremely well. And I thought that, if they had won the Big Ten tournament, they probably could have been maybe not a 2 seed, but a 3 seed, I think would have been more likely. And so they have a tough one. They have to play, they'll have to get past Arizona if they advance to meet Arizona, that is. And if we go back to 2005, Illinois, Arizona, Matt.
What do you mean you didn't do any research for this? Come on, you did a lot. You're going back to 2005 and pulling stats. Come on, man.
Because I remember that game extremely well. It was the best game, probably one of the best games I've ever watched in college basketball history. Against Arizona. Illinois, Arizona semifinals. They were down by 15 or whatever it was and came back. They had Darren Williams, Luther Head, D. Brown, and a funny story about this whole thing. So that night I was back home visiting my family that weekend, and they were playing. The game was on in the living room. We went down, and Illinois was playing like shit. I was like, screw it. Let me go get an online poker tournament.
Nice.
So
that's the natural segue, by the way.
The natural segue is to go as a 26-year-old. Screw it. So I went into the room adjacent. So we had like the living room, then there was a dining room, whatever you want to call each room, and then the kitchen. And so I was in the dining room, had the computer up, and was playing an online poker tournament. But it was a progressive poker tournament, meaning you have like, say, 100 people in the first tournament, and the top 10 from that tournament go on to the next tournament, and then subsequently then of that big tournament, there's 100 more from 10 different tables. Ultimately, what it is top 10 from 10 different tables, and top 10 from 10 different tables, and top 5 from those. And after like 4 rounds, you're down to the final 20 spots or 50 spots or whatever it is, and everybody's in the money. And first place was like say $20,000, $25,000 or whatever. And it was like a $10 entry to start off. And I get past the first round, and I finish in the top 10 or whatever it was. And the second one was starting up. Second one started up right as Illinois made the comeback. And so they're making the comeback. I'm in the one room, and I'm running back and forth, and I'm checking the score. I remember one hand I had pocket aces, and I go in, and the Illini hit a 3, cause a turnover. They're marching back down. I look over and I see that my hand's about to time out. So I run back in, hit the button, don't pay any attention what was going on. And I called someone's all-in bet, luckily. And I was like, okay. And I hit it. I go all in, and I double up, maybe triple up. I go back and watch the game, and I'm trying to watch at the same time. And I come back and I hit another huge hand that just all this great luck is happening. The Illini come back and they end up winning the game. I am just ecstatic. Best game I've ever watched college basketball wise. Play the tournament, start drinking a little bit more, have some drinks. Before you know it, it's about 2:30. And I had advanced past the second round, and the third one was getting ready to start in about an hour is what it was, because you're waiting for everybody's tables to finish, the other two or whatever there was.
Right.
And I fall asleep. And I wake up the next morning to basically being blinded out of the third tournament and not making $1 at all.
Oh.
So you get past the first two, and it's pretty much like you almost are guaranteed something, your money back at least.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is not be a drunk blackout. But the thing, honestly, should have stopped and been like an overnight, like we'll resume tomorrow. But enough people had finished, and it was like right at that cusp, that cutoff. And I don't remember who it was on. You know, it was 20 years ago almost. But so that night will last with me, hence why I remember. But it will also be not one of my highlights for show.
Man, I'm going to take that awesome thing minus the losing at 3:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you my weakest, dumbest, just what the hell were you thinking moment in college basketball. I got home from work, like I want to say like around 8. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to take a bubble bath because why not? I know. And I say this is like a few years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. There's a game on, Jorge. My wife's like reminding me that there's a game on, which kudos to her for, telling me that there's a game on that I should be watching. She didn't know what it was, but she's like, there's a game on. I think you might want to watch it. And I'm like, I don't care. I can't. It's Monday night. The week is already starting off shitty. I just want to go do this. And I say to myself, I can't believe I'm sitting here taking a bubble bath. This is like the dumbest thing ever. But you know what? I just kept on sitting in there, and I'm like, this is actually kind of comfortable. I'm okay with all this. Mm-hmm. And then I want to say an hour and a half later, I'm still in the bubble bath. I've been like refreshing with hot water and hot water. It's just been like nonstop, and it's ridiculous. And eventually I realize it's the national championship game with Villanova versus North Carolina. Oh, and sure. I'm like, oh my God, what have I been doing? Why have I been doing this?
Yeah.
And I get out of the tub, I get dry, I put on clothes, and I walk out into the living room. And my wife had the game this entire time on in the background, which kudos to her for having it on.
Mm-hmm.
I walk out just as dude hits the shot for North Carolina to tie it, and then other dude comes back to win the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only two plays I saw from that entire game.
No shit.
And I'm like, well, at least I didn't miss the best part,
True.
But still, that was weak. And of course, I went to the celebration when Maryland beat Indiana for the national title. And back in the day, rioting was considered cool, at least in College Park, Maryland. So whenever they won the Final Four against Kansas, and then we went to the parade, quote unquote, riot there. I thought it was going to translate to being able to do some underage drinking. It was more running away from riot police, so it was not as much fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then stuff got set on fire, and so it wasn't really the celebration I was going for. Again, I wanted to do the whole underage drinking thing back in the day. It didn't happen, but my team won the national championship, so who was I going to say anything about?
Yeah. The running from riot police doesn't sound like too much of a good time.
And I thought to myself, okay, we've ran far enough away that they're going to stop chasing us. And it got to the point where like they're at their shield, they have their shields, and they're like they stop advancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, good. Maybe this is going to die down. Maybe this scene is going to calm down, and then I could find my way into a bar and do some underage drinking. And that didn't happen because some schmuck decided to set off a firework, not vertically, but horizontally, right towards the riot police's shields. And as soon as that happened, they just started running and charging all the students. And I'm just like, oh, God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was something. But yeah.
Yeah, Google, go to your old Google box if you have it pulled up at all.
Yeah.
Type in 2000. SIU Carbondale Halloween.
All right. I'll tell you a story about Googling something else. Ooh, okay. Part 1?
There's 3 parts to this.
Okay. Yeah. Part 3, I see. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Halloween in Carbondale, as in like the 80s, used to be like it was so Playboy when they used to do their top party school things back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Carbondale was number one a few different times overall, and so not the reason I went there, but it just happenstance. And so during Halloween, I mean that's the students go home. They shut the town down and they shut down the school, and students aren't allowed to stay on campus during Halloween because of the 80s. And so in 2000, it was the first time that they really had the strip open and they were allowing everything. And it was like, you could tell they were like, all right, we're going to do this. You guys are going to be good, right? And everybody's like, yes. And they're like, you're going to be good, right? And they're like, yeah, we will. We promise. And they're like, okay, we're what? Are you sure? And they're like, come on, don't you trust us? We do. Okay. And they should not have trusted them because I have pictures still. I mean, so imagine the strip itself is the entire strip of businesses. We'll say a mile long. That's, maybe not even a mile, but regardless, they have all the foods there, bars, everything. Well, all the bars are packed. Everybody's just having a great time. And then people start getting a little rowdy. There was like a Jimmy John's right there, and people climbed the trees of the Jimmy John's, and then they were swinging from the trees, and then all of a sudden a brick gets thrown through the window, and then all of a sudden a brick gets thrown through another window. And then they go into the Jimmy John's and grab the cash register and throw it out onto the street. It was empty, no money or anything, but they did that. Cops show up and they start releasing tear gas. People are knocking to me, the stupidest thing you could ever imagine. I mean, no business. I was off in the periphery watching a little bit, and then they released the gas canisters, and then I made my way back to our house, and our house was about 4 blocks off of the strip, kind of off campus, and it made its way all the way to our house to the point where we were trying to stay outside, and you couldn't. It was too thick, and just the worst part is the ramifications for so many of these stupid students. And a lot of them weren't from Carbondale. A lot of them, Carbondale's population was pretty heavy Chicago in terms of like the students. It's a state school, and it's the furthest away from Chicago. So you try to go the furthest away and still pay, in-state tuition.
Gotcha.
And so they did that. But, there's a story and there's a picture of a kid who at the rec center thing, there's a picture of him kicking, like doing like a full karate style front kick right through the display. It said Happy Halloween. Perfect picture for the paper and everybody else, because he's just kicking through this, like kind of like you were talking about with the construction signs and the person would put up everything. That's what this was essentially. And they took a picture, and then they identified the kid, and they figured it out who it was, and they expelled him from school. He was like a biomedical engineering student, and I mean, so not a dummy. Right. Not that it matters if he was taking that or if he was taking gen ed or anything like that. Doesn't matter. But he was a senior and was done, was expelled, lost everything. Man.
Wow.
And you're just like, alcohol, damn beer.
Yeah.
Get the best of you.
Yeah. No, it'll do that. It'll definitely do that. It's crazy. 2002, man, it is almost to the day since WrestleMania 18 and The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. On Facebook, you can go on and they have like certain like pages where they can show you bootleg versions of stuff. Well, they were able to show me the bootleg version of Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. And I don't know why I was watching the bootleg version on Facebook when I could just go on to Peacock and just watch it, on high definition. But whatever. I didn't want to get off my phone, and I said, you know what, I'll just stay on my phone and watch it. Man, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
The Eminem Show came out. That was one of my favorite CDs back in the day. That was 2002 also. That's I'm turning 40 next month, man. Yeah. I don't even know where to begin with any of that.
Yeah, you get over it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll forget about it after a little bit, and then before you know it, you're 43 and thinking of looking at pictures from 22 years ago, going, huh, looky there. Interesting. I remember that place. Yep, I stood there. I got a picture of that. But
yep,
that is life, as
Indeed.
they say.
This is true. And with that almost 2-hour long show, which I don't even know if I'm going to be cutting this in half or whatever I'm going to be doing. Maybe I'll just let the people just listen to whatever they want to listen to and just post the entire thing. There we go. So thank you to the 4 people who have been watching consistently throughout the night, and for that one that I see on the screen right there. That's going to do it there. Head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out our Risers and Fallers. Get ready for our Dynasty Targets articles and get ready for our rookie prospect stuff coming here at you with the Dynasty 365 podcast, as well as the guys from the Daily Fix podcast or DFS podcast here. They're going to be helping out the guys over in Dynasty 365 doing player assessments of incoming rookies. So look out for that. And then before you know it, we got the NFL draft. And before you know that, Nate and I are going to be doing Shoot the Gap. And before you know that, we'll be doing all sorts of stuff throughout the summer, getting you ready for the fantasy football season. And the Fantasy Football Expo will be here, and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to kick ass, and we're going to have new merchandise coming soon. So a lot of cool things coming here at fantasyandframes.com. So thank you for tuning in. Nate, as always, my friend, it's great catching up with you.
You as well. I will I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Y'all have a good morning, evening, depending on where you are. Bye.